Let's discuss the process for when your CPA prepares your tax return, your individual Form 1040 for 2020. What's the process to most effectively allow your CPA to prepare that tax return, both from the client standpoint and the tax professional standpoint? I urge you to use the tax organizer that is provided to you to fill that in the best you can. It's more of a guide. It's not a requirement that you fill it in. It has information, it contains information that relates to your previous year's tax return, so it tends to jog your mind and bring up issues and things that you might have not be aware of. So I would urge you to use that organizer, and especially the checklist at the beginning, at the front of the organizer. It may seem very common sense type of things, you know, are you married, are you not married, and you'll say, well, my preparer knows these answers. Fill those in, check those boxes, because there's often items in there that will alert us to something that you may not be aware of, or some tax event, or a tax deduction that you may be allowed, or a tax credit, or whatever, or an issue. So fill that in the best you can. Then provide your tax preparer, obviously, with all IRS documents. That's normally your W-2s, obviously your W-2s, 1099 forms for bank, for interest income from brokerage accounts, and then any other relevant information that you think you have. Normally, we don't really look forward to receiving a shoebox of information, which when accountants say shoebox, that really means receipts and items that are not organized. But I would urge you to, if you're in doubt with a piece of information, or do you need it, or should we have it, I would suggest you bring it in, and your CPA will determine, it's easy to say, no, we don't need that, and put it aside. Too much is probably better than not enough. If you have QuickBooks, I would really urge you to provide the CPA with the QuickBooks reports, or if it works for you, probably a flash drive that we can use that contains all of your information in the QuickBooks, and that way we can pick and choose and find the relevant information that we would be looking for. I would also urge you, in the tax organizer that I mentioned, I would urge you to try to fill in that organizer and list those expenses, the breakdown of the different business expenses. And then on our end, we will look at what you've written down. We won't just blindly use every number. If we see issues or items that we have questions about, we will definitely ask you. But it is, takes us less time, which is less expense on your tax return when you fill that in. And then remember, please deliver your information to your CPA as soon as possible. Oftentimes, you do not have to have all of your information when you bring the information to your CPA, because it's easy for us to fill in the blanks. We can get a head start. Often people are missing K-1s from partnerships, maybe 1099s that come out a little bit later, February, sometimes early March, from brokerage accounts. That's the most common thing. But bring your other information in. That way we can get a start, and then we can complete it easily when the missing information does come to you. And then I would encourage you, the reason I say bring this information in as soon as you can, because approximately around March 15th, there's going to be a good chance, especially this year, especially what went on, the tax changes that occurred in 2020, remote workers and all of that. Try to get your information in before March 15th, or it's very, very likely, especially this tax season, that we will prepare an extension. As CPAs, I've done this for a long time. We want to treat every client as if they're our only client, and we do everything we can to do that. But in reality, there are many clients, and we're very busy. There is a backlog. There's no way of getting around that. as we move into March and obviously into April. I would encourage you to sign and return the engagement letter that we provide you, ideally before we prepare your tax return. In certain cases, we provide the engagement letter out once we've completed the tax return. Please sign those engagement letters and return to your CPA. As we're preparing the tax returns, the CPA will, as they're proceeding with the preparation, we will contact you with any questions, any issues, and obviously you're free to contact us too. I've prepared very few tax returns where I had no questions or where there were no issues or no, so we will contact you with that. You'll be notified when the tax return is completed and ready for you. We will give you a call, and either it's up to you. We could either mail it to you or you can come in and pick the tax return up. Once you do, please sign and return the e-file form to your CPA, and I encourage you to do that as soon as possible. On those e-file forms, if you're married filing jointly, both spouses need to sign the form. So please get those back to us as soon as you can, and then be aware that we can file your tax return well before April 15th. When you owe money, we know that most people do not want to pay the money early, or they don't have the money to pay early. But we can file the tax return so that it's timely filed. We could file a tax return on March 1st if that was the case, and you do not have to pay any money that would be due until April 15th. So I would encourage you to return the e-file forms so that we can file the return. Don't wait just because you don't want to pay. Don't wait until close to April 15th. Once the CPA receives your e-file form on our end, we transmit the tax return to the IRS. We watch and we receive a notification back from the IRS that your tax return was received and was accepted. 9 times out of 10, or probably 99 times out of 100, it's immediately accepted. Certain times there could be a reject. Reject is usually, not very often, but it's usually a child was claimed as a dependent by one spouse or by one parent, and if in a divorce case, the other parent may have claimed that child, or that child filed their own tax return and claimed themselves. We know that one person could only be claimed one time. That's an automatic. That will be a reject. So if anything's rejected, we will either fix it on our end, or we will notify you of some kind of changes that we need to make. So it's really a smooth process. So we're ready to go. So bring your information in and we'll get on it. Thanks.